Your limits are not real barriers standing in front of you. They're not walls built by the world. Most of them are thoughts you repeated so many times that you started treating them like truth. I am not smart enough. I'm not strong enough. I don't have the time. I don't have the resources. I'm not like those people. Stop right there. Every one of those statements is not a fact. It is a belief. And here is the harsh truth most people never accept. You're living according to what you believe about yourself, not what is actually possible for you. Think about it. Every person you admire right now once had the same doubts, the same fears, the same limitations in their head. The only difference is they did not obey them. You're not stuck because life is harder for you. You are stuck because you accepted a smaller version of yourself and called it reality. The moment you believe you cannot do something, your mind starts building evidence to prove you right. You stop trying. You stop showing up. You stop pushing when it gets uncomfortable. And then you say, see, I knew I couldn't do it. But you never gave yourself a real chance. Your belief is either building your future or burying it. And here is something you need to understand deeply. No one is coming to remove your limits for you. No one is going to wake you up and suddenly make you disciplined. No one is going to hand you confidence, focus, or success. You're waiting for motivation when what you actually need is decision. A decision to stop negotiating with your excuses. Because every time you say, I will start tomorrow, you are not delaying work. You are strengthening the belief that you are someone who delays. Every time you quit when it gets hard, you are not just failing. You are training yourself to believe you are weak under pressure. And slowly, without realizing it, you become exactly what you practiced. But the truth is, you were never born with limits that strong. You learn them, and anything learned can be unlearned. Right now, your life is a reflection of what you have accepted as normal, not what you are capable of. And that is the uncomfortable part most people avoid. Because if this is true, then it means you are responsible for your limits. Not your background, not your situation, not your past. You. But that is also the most powerful truth you will ever hear. Because if you created those limits in your mind, you also have the ability to break them. The question is not whether you can. The question is whether you will stop believing the voice that says you cannot. You need to understand something most people never confront in their entire life. Your mind is not your enemy, but it is also not always your ally. It is built to protect you, not to push you. It is designed to keep you alive, not to help you grow. And there is a huge difference between surviving and evolving. That is why every time you try to do something difficult, something unfamiliar, something that actually matters for your future, your mind reacts instantly. It starts negotiating with you. This is too hard. You are not ready. You should wait. Try something easier. Start later when you feel better. And if you're not aware of what is happening, you will obey those thoughts without questioning them. That is how limits are formed, not by reality, not by your actual abilities, but by repeated obedience to discomfort. Every time you avoid something because it feels hard, you're not just avoiding effort. You are training your identity. You are teaching yourself what kind of person you are willing to be. And slowly, without noticing, your life starts shrinking around your decisions. The more you choose comfort, the more comfort becomes your standard. The more you avoid pressure, the less pressure you can handle. The more you delay effort, the more delay becomes your natural habit. And one day you wake up and realize you're living a life that feels small, not because you lack potential, but because you kept surrendering to ease. Now listen closely. Your comfort zone is not comfortable. It is just familiar. And familiarity can trap you more effectively than pain ever could. Because pain forces change. Comfort delays it. And most people do not fail because they are incapable. They fail because they keep choosing what feels safe over what makes them stronger. Here is another truth you need to face. Your brain will always give you reasons to stop. It will always sound logical. It will always feel justified. It will tell you you are being realistic. It will tell you you are protecting your energy. It will tell you tomorrow is a better day. But in reality, it is just protecting your current identity. And if your current identity is weak, distracted, inconsistent, or fearful, then your mind will do everything it can to keep you exactly there. That is why growth is uncomfortable. Because growth is not just learning new skills. It is replacing the person you currently are with someone stronger. And your current habits will resist that change. Now understand this very clearly. Confidence does not come before action. It never has. It never will. You're not going to think your way into confidence. You're not going to wait your way into discipline. You're not going to plan your way into success. You build confidence by doing what you said you would do, especially when you do not feel like it. You build discipline by repeating actions that your emotions try to reject. Every time you show up when it's hard, you weaken the old version of yourself. And every time you quit when it gets uncomfortable, you strengthen that same weak version. So you're always training something, either strength or avoidance, either discipline or delay, either belief in yourself or belief in your limits. And here is the part most people ignore. You cannot keep living the same way and expect a different life. That is not motivation, that is mathematics. Input controls output. Repetition controls identity. If your daily actions are small, your life becomes small. If your daily actions are strong, your life expands even before results show up. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits when pressure hits. So stop asking if you can do it. Start asking what kind of person you are becoming by the choices you make daily. Because your limits are not locked doors. They are repeated decisions. And every decision either strengthens them or breaks them down. At some point, you have to stop romanticizing your potential and start confronting your reality. Because potential without execution is just imagination. And imagination does not change your life. You can believe in yourself all day. You can repeat affirmations. You can watch motivational videos. You can feel inspired for a few minutes. But if your actions do not change, your life will not change. That is the part people avoid. They want transformation without discomfort. They want results without resistance. They want a new identity without letting go of the old one. It does not work like that. You are not stuck because life is unfair. You are stuck because your actions are too inconsistent to create momentum. And momentum is everything. One disciplined day does not change your life. But repeated disciplined days start to change how you think, how you feel, and what you believe about yourself. But most people never reach that stage because they stop too early. They start something difficult, feel resistance, and interpret that resistance as a sign to quit. But resistance is not a warning. It is a test. It is the moment where your old identity tries to pull you back into who you used to be. The person who delays, the person who gives up, the person who chooses comfort over growth. And every time you give in, you confirm that identity again. But every time you push through, even when it feels slow, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels like nothing is changing, you are rewriting who you are. This is where real change happens. Not in motivation, not in planning, but in repetition under resistance. You need to understand this deeply. Your life is not shaped by what you want. It is shaped by what you repeatedly do when no one is watching and when nothing feels easy. That is your real identity, not your words, not your intentions, your actions under pressure. And if your actions are weak, your results will be weak no matter how strong your dreams are. Now here is the truth that will either wake you up or make you uncomfortable enough to change. No one is coming to save you from your patterns. No one is coming to break your excuses. No one is coming to force discipline into your life. No one is coming to do the hard part for you. You either take responsibility for your actions, or you stay the same and keep calling it fate. But it is not fate. It is repetition. And repetition can be changed starting today. The moment you stop treating discomfort as a stop sign and start treating it as a signal that you're growing, everything begins to shift. Because the truth is simple. Your limits only exist where your discipline stops. Now listen, this is where most people finally understand what separates those who change from those who stay exactly the same. It is not talent. It is not luck. It is not background. It is not opportunity. It is tolerance for discomfort. Because growth will always demand something from you that your old self is not willing to give. Time when you want rest. Effort when you want ease. Focus when you want distraction. Consistency when you want breaks. And every single time you choose the harder option, you are proving something to yourself. You are proving that your emotions do not control your decisions. That is the real battle. Not the world outside you, but the negotiation happening inside your mind every single day. And if you lose that internal battle repeatedly, your life will reflect it. You will start to see patterns. You start things and stop. You get motivated and then disappear. You promise yourself change and then fall back into the same cycle. And then you start thinking maybe this is just who you are. But it is not who you are. It is what you trained. And anything trained can be retrained. You have to stop identifying with your current level of discipline as if it is permanent. It is not your identity. It is your current standard. And standard can rise. But they do not rise through wishes. They rise through repeated decisions that feel slightly uncomfortable in the moment, but powerful in the long term. Every time you push yourself when you do not feel like it, you are raising your standard. Every time you quit early, you're lowering it. And life responds exactly to that standard. Not your hopes, not your dreams, but your daily proof. Now here is something you need to accept without sugarcoating it. If you keep doing what is easy, your life will stay average. That is not negativity. That is pattern recognition. Everything you want is on the other side of repeated effort that you currently avoid. And avoidance is expensive. It does not just delay success. It builds regret, because time will pass either way. The only question is whether it passes while you're building something or while you are distracting yourself from building it. So stop waiting for the perfect version of yourself to show up. That version is not coming from waiting. It is coming from doing. You become disciplined by acting without discipline. You become strong by acting while you feel weak. You become focused by forcing focus again and again until it becomes natural. There is no shortcut to this. There is no mental trick that replaces action. And here is the hard truth. You already know what you need to do. You're just negotiating with it. And every day you delay, that negotiation becomes your lifestyle. But you can end it, not by thinking differently, but by acting differently today. Because your limits are not permanent. They're practiced. At this point, you need to stop asking yourself if it is possible and start asking yourself if you are willing to pay the price. Because everything you want in life already has a cost attached to it. Nothing meaningful is ever free. It is always exchanged for something. Your time, your comfort, your attention, your habits, your discipline. A stronger body costs consistent effort when you feel tired. A sharper mind costs focus when distractions are easier. A successful life costs discipline when laziness feels comfortable. A new identity costs letting go of the excuses you have been holding on to for years. And that is where most people stop. Not because they cannot do it, but because they're not willing to give up what is comfortable right now for something better later. You have to understand this clearly. Your goals are not just dreams. They are demands. And every demand comes with resistance. The bigger the goal, the heavier the resistance. Most people are not stuck because they lack information. They're stuck because they are not willing to stay in that uncomfortable zone long enough for change to actually happen. They want transformation in a straight line. Fast results, instant progress, immediate validation. But real growth does not work like that. It is slow, repetitive, and often frustrating. And that is exactly where people quit. Because the beginning of change feels exciting, but the middle feels empty. You're working hard, but not seeing enough results. You are trying, but not feeling rewarded. You are pushing, but not feeling progress every single day. And in that phase, your mind starts questioning everything. Maybe this is not working. Maybe I am not good enough. Maybe I should try something else. Maybe I should stop wasting time. But that is the illusion that keeps people trapped. Because that stage, the uncomfortable middle, is exactly where transformation is happening. Not visibly, but internally. You are building discipline. You are building identity. You are building strength that you cannot see yet. And most people destroy that process by quitting too early. So understand this deeply. Your limits are not fixed boundaries. They are tolerance levels. How much discomfort can you handle before you quit? How much boredom can you sit through without escaping? How much failure can you absorb without giving up? How much repetition can you endure without losing focus? That is your real limit. Not your talent, not your intelligence, not your circumstances, just your tolerance for discomfort. And every time you choose comfort over growth, you reinforce that limit. You tell yourself, I stop here. This is enough. This is my edge. But every time you push past that moment, even when it feels slow, even when it feels like nothing is changing, you are expanding that edge. You are literally increasing what you can handle as a person. And that is what discipline really is. Not perfection, not motivation, but expanding your capacity to stay in the process even when it is uncomfortable. Here is something most people never realize until it is too late. Your emotions are not reliable indicators of progress. Feeling tired does not mean you are failing. Feeling bored does not mean it is not working. Feeling doubt does not mean you are on the wrong path. It often means you are right in the middle of growth. And if you let emotions decide your actions, you will always stop right before the breakthrough. That is why you must learn to trust effort more than emotion. Because emotions are temporary. They change with sleep, stress, and environment. But effort compounds. And compound effort is what builds everything you admire in others. Nobody accidentally becomes disciplined. Nobody randomly becomes successful. Nobody stumbles into consistency. It is built through repeated action when it would have been easier to stop. So stop waiting for clarity before you move. Clarity is not the starting point. It is the result. You act first. You learn while moving. You adjust while failing. And only then do you understand what you are capable of. And every time you choose action over hesitation, your limits begin to break. This is where everything comes together. Because if you have been listening closely, you already know the truth. You do not need more motivation. You do not need another reminder. You do not need another sign. You need execution. At this point, your life is not waiting for information. It is waiting for consistency. It is waiting for you to stop starting and stopping. It is waiting for you to stop living in cycles of motivation and regret. Because that cycle is what keeps people trapped for years. They get inspired, they slow down, they quit, they feel guilty, and then they repeat it again. And every repetition of that cycle weakens belief in themselves. And when belief weakens, limits become stronger. But you have to break that pattern at the source. Not with emotion, not with promises, but with action that does not stop when it gets inconvenient. Let me say this clearly. Your future is not being decided in your best days. It is being decided in your worst days. The days you feel tired, the days you feel distracted, the days you feel unmotivated, the days you feel like quitting. Those are the days that define you. Because anyone can perform when life feels easy. But only a few people can stay consistent when it feels heavy. And those few are the ones who change everything. You have to stop giving your limits so much authority over your life. They're not facts. They are patterns. And patterns can be broken. The moment you stop obeying every thought that tells you to stop, your identity begins to shift. You're no longer someone who gives up quickly. You're no longer someone who waits for perfect conditions. You're no longer someone controlled by how they feel in the moment. You become someone who acts anyway. And that is where your limits start collapsing. Because limits only survive where obedience exists. The moment you stop obeying them, they lose power. Now understand this deeply. No one is coming to fix your discipline. No one is coming to push you. No one is coming to build your habits for you. No one is coming to carry your consistency. It is on you. And that responsibility is heavy, but it is also powerful. Because it means your life is in your control more than you ever admitted. Every excuse you used before does not define you. Every failure you had before does not define you. Every weak moment does not define you. What defines you is what you do from this moment forward. So stop negotiating with your potential. Stop delaying what you already know you need to do. Start showing up even when it feels unnecessary. Start working even when it feels slow. Start continuing even when results are not visible yet. Because that is where real change lives. Not in inspiration, not in waiting, but in action that refuses to stop. And now here is the final truth. Your limits are not real barriers. They are beliefs that you have not challenged enough. The moment you challenge them through action, they break. And once they break, you never go back to who you were before. Now, if this message reached you, if it hit something inside you, do not just leave it here. Subscribe to this channel so you stay connected with this kind of mindset content. Like this video so more people who need it can find it. and comment your experience, what part of this hit you the most, or what you are struggling with right now. And share this with someone who needs to hear it, not because I'm asking you to, but because someone in your life might be living inside their own limits right now, and they need to hear the truth too.